All right, we're finally going to get into it. This is my entire run, my entire tournament run for Smogon Draft's Summer Seasonal. And just to give some context, the Summer Seasonal, they do a Summer Seasonal, a Winter Seasonal, and it's Gen 9 format with Open Terra, but Terra Preview, Terra Captains, that could be high tier Terramon. So if you're used to seeing Wi-Fi leagues and stuff, Showdown does it very differently. They do Terra Preview, where you disclose your Terra, and then pretty much everything can Terra, barring some bans like Iron Valiant, for example, or like Palafin, or like the super, like, you know, top 8 or so broken ones, but realistically most things can Terra. On top of that, it's huge. It's a huge tournament. Over 500 people participated in this tournament, and there's one winner. So it is absurdly competitive, just in the sense that it is a slugfest. Like, you could face anyone and anything, and you know, there's a lot of really good players who get knocked out really early. So in terms of how it works, is it's functionally 9 weeks, but once you get 3 losses, you're out of the tournament. So tournament run is done for you. And after 9 weeks, if you go 7-2 or better, then you make playoffs. So our goal is to go as far as we can. Obviously, this is my first Scarlet and Violet tournament that I've ever participated in. This is my first shindig with, like, you know, Terra in a not Wi-Fi type format, and honestly, like, I'm still trying to figure out like the 8-mon thing for like Generation 9 as well. So I mean, not even just trying to figure out, like, that's new to me as well. So my goal here, because I know I'm a good player even though I lack the experience, my goal here is to go 6-3, which isn't making playoffs, but that was my goal at the start of the season, because that is like a really solid win rate. It's like every 2 games I lose 1 type win rate, and it would mean that I, you know, go 6-2 up until I go 6-3. That's kind of the goal that we're going for here. So in a way, the goal is to go 6-2, and then we'll see how it goes after that. But it's tough, and there are some amazing players who are in this tournament. Basically, any main Showdown person that you can think of participated in this, in terms of people who are active in the Scarlet Violet meta. So really, really tough. And ultimately, in order to make playoffs, you would need to finish in the top 32. And I know that sounds like a lot of people. I know it sounds like a lot of people, but again, bear in mind, it's like 500 plus people participating. So you need to finish in like the top, like 10%, even less than that, of every single player. And you need to go through every week. So I'm going to show you what we drafted. I'm just going to go very quickly through it. I've got Iron Valiant. That fell to me. I've never used Iron Valiant before. Really strong wall breaker, just something that I figured I could build a lot of 8-mon teams around, especially with like 8-mon teams. There can usually only be like 1 fairy resist or something like that. So offensive Valiant sets look really good. You want to get like removal and hazard control. So Treads was the next mon on the list. And then Darkrai is really, really fast. And with Iron Valiant, you really want to get like a second fast mon, so you're not relying on Valiant to be your fast mon. Darkrai is another interesting mon I wanted to try for a while. Obviously, it's a little controversial. Some people think it's kind of bad, and then some people think it's quite good. So I wanted to try it out for myself, but really just strong offensive core here. But Darkrai nor Iron Valiant is allowed to Terra, so I wanted to consider other Terra options, and Terra Mew was something I was eyeing from the start. In 8-mon, especially when you can use any typing, it seems like the type of mon that if you build the right set, you can just like outright win the game. So I wanted to try it, and it was really cheap. Like, usually Terra Mew is quite expensive, but in this case it was only 13 out of 25 Terra points, so it also let me get a secondary good Terramon, which was Thundurus. Now Thundurus is really nice here, both as a secondary Terramon that could actually feasibly Terra, but it's also quite good because it has a bunch of support options, such as Knockoff, and Prankster T-Wave especially is really solid into basically all of these mons. If I can Prankster T-Wave like a faster mon, then basically all of these 4 guys become the fastest mon on the field, which is quite lovely. Something else I was eyeing as well is the Prankster Electric Terrain, which can benefit Quark Drive on Iron Valiant and Iron Tread, so that's really cool too. And then Terra setup in itself is quite strong as well. And then with 8-mon, really the way I conceptualize it is I want to have like a core 5, and then I want to be able to have like 3 mons that I could sort of like plug and play depending on the matchup. So Quillfish, Abomasnow, Duraludon definitely accomplishes that. Abomasnow is really nice just for like Ice Shard priority and like Auroraville strats, and also like a good water resist, which I don't have. Quillfish is a nice little like fire resist and spike stacker and grounded poison if that's what I end up needing. And then Duraludon's just like a nice catch-all. Like if I need that extra like hit, if I want, you know, T-Wave plus Draco, or if I just want to be able to take like, you know, if I want to basically have a steel type that resists certain things that Iron Treads doesn't, obviously. Plus Iron Treads might be wanting to do more offensive things. So Duraludon just gives me a secondary steel option, and it gives me like a secondary rocker. So I'm not relying on Iron Treads all the time. So that's kind of the team. First matchup is against SarcTechie. He drafted basically a hard Sun team. And on this team that we don't see, I think there was Terraleafeon, and I don't remember what the other thing was, but this was a very, very tough matchup for me because my only fire resist is Qwilfish. So I had to play this like really offensively. So if we look at the team that I brought, it's pretty interesting. Like I kind of thought that like a lead Power Herb Meteor Beam Mew was quite nice here. Like I could potentially like just like Meteor Beam the Torkoal turn 1, or I could like spam Ice Beam versus like the Sandy Shocks. And then Qwilfish is nice as a little gouging fire check. E-Belt Thunderous with Terra Ground was a nice little way to revenge gouging fire amongst other things. Like just, you know, there's no ground resist on this, you know, team, so just being able to click a ground type move is quite nice. Obviously Screamtail is a bit of a hard check, but I do have, you know, Iron Treads and Qwilfish and stuff like that. And then Life Orb Darkrai punches a lot of holes into the team. The Dark Resist is just Primarina and Roaring Moon, so just Ice, Poison, Dark, hits everything. Sucker Punch is really nice as well, just for avenging purposes. And then, you know, same thing with Valiant, like Moonblast is quite spammable. But the thing that I really like about this HO mode is, you know, we're leading Mew, we're getting a bunch of damage off, we're trying to go into Treads and get some damage off then, and then we're trying to Electric Terrain with Thunderous when we get the opportunity, so that maybe like Life Orb Valiant with Speed Boost can clean up. So this is a very offensive mode. We're going to see how it goes. And if you check preview right here, oh, I should mention it was a Terra Sandy Shocks. It's Terra Fire Sandy Shocks. So that's especially scary because Terra Fire Sandy Shocks in the sun, incredibly spooky. I don't have resists, and it was not something I was necessarily prepared for. So we're going to get into this match. We see the Roaring Moon lead off, and this immediately reveals Banded Roaring Moon, which is not ideal. I'm able to get my rocks up right away because they're very important for things like Torkoal and Gouging Fire, but it's not looking great. We can encore, or he can encore us, but thankfully we outspeed with Sludge Bomb. So it's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing. Like Sludge Bomb is relatively free. There's no resist outside of Sandy Shocks, which I don't think you want to take too much damage on. So I hypothetically could just stay in and keep spamming Sludge Bomb, which is what I end up doing. And he can't really like do anything from this position other than like just let me get the damage off on Screamtail, and potentially secure Poison, which is quite useful. So once I do that, I go into Qwilfish because I expect to protect, but he just goes for Dazzling Gleam, which makes sense because I think it kills the Mew from there. But now I can go into Qwilfish and potentially set up Rain Dance or T-Spikes or something, right? And I end up going for T-Spikes here. The thing about this is obviously that Rapid Spin can come off. So all of this work that I've just done, kind of not really for much. I got a little bit damage on Screamtail, but, you know, he kind of was very easily able to remove the rocks. So probably not the best Mew set headed into this matchup, given that like he had the means to remove quite easily. Probably a Mew in the back would have been much better, but we take what we can get. I hard into Qwilfish on the Screamtail, which is a nice prediction by me. I'm kind of predicting at this point that there's no Psychic move, because at that point it would just be for Qwilfish, and, you know, Encore, Dazzling Gleam, Wish, Protect I think is probably a little bit more likely. So I just stay in here, going for my T-Spikes again, trying to get some kind of hazard pressure, even though I'm probably not going to be able to get rocks up. I go for Flip Turn, knowing that I can take an Earthquake no matter what, and now I go into Iron Treads. Now, I actually think this game is really easily winnable if I can get that Electric Terrain up and get Valiant to win. Because again, look at Moonblast versus this team. Like, once Screamtail is a little bit chipped, once Primarina is a little bit chipped, I can T-Bolt it. Like, Moonblast is very, very winnable, can beat this team, or Aura Sphere, you know, versus Torkoal, once I get that Electric Terrain up. So I just need a little bit of chip on Gouging Fire, and I can stop this Dragon Dance Gouging Fire by going into my Iron Treads, which is lovely. Now, this Iron Treads is Iron Defense, Body Press, Earthquake. I could just click Earthquake here. Earthquake doesn't kill. So what I want to do instead is I want to click Iron Defense. And if I click Iron Defense and he goes for Flare Blitz, then Earthquake kills after the Flare Blitz recoil. So that's kind of what I want to do here. So that's what I do. I click Iron Defense, and he Earthquakes instead, and he crits me. So that's really, really bad, because I could have just Earthquaked here and, done some damage to this, but I really thought this was the better play, because even if, he didn't go for Flare Blitz, I could just Earthquake the next turn. It would be the same situation. But what I didn't account for is the potential of a crit. So I die, and that sucks. Now I have to go back into Quillfish, get a little bit of extra chip off, and basically attempt to just flip turn out to get some chip on this. And now I'm guaranteed to live one hit with my Thunderous because I Intimidated. However, it means that I have to burn my Terra here, and he actually ends up being really, really slow. So he was a really physically defensive Dragon Dance variant. Kind of a good thing for me, kind of a saving moment, the fact that he didn't outspeed me, especially because this is looking really scary just in general. So I'm going to go into my Quillfish. I want to get more information on what this thing is. It's going to go for knockoff. I know that it's choice banned, so I know that it's going to be locked into knockoff, so I can actually make an interesting play into Darkrai. And it's going to do quite a bit. But at the very least, I'm putting extra pressure on the opponent, especially by, clicking some move here, clicking Sludge Bomb, and now I can click Sludge Bomb again to KO this thing. However, big issue here, Sandy Shocks comes in, and it's Speed Boost, and it's going to Terra Fire, and I basically have no resist. My Quillfish is low, so it's going to die under the sun, especially if it specs Terra Fire. Very bad. So I go into my Mew, I sack my Mew, and he goes for Earth Power. So okay, he specs Earth Power instead of Terra Blast. This actually gives me a little bit of hope. Thunderous has a chance to live this Earth Power because I'm actually negative Spit-Off Nature. So I go into Thunderous, I have a chance to live, and what I want to do is I probably want to Electric Terrain, because if he kills me, then at least I'll Prankster Electric Terrain so that Valiant outspeeds. If he doesn't kill me, then, after I Electric Terrain, then whatever, I'll just go into, the mono the next turn. So I could Terra Blast and kill this, but it would mean that he has to go first and I'd be risking a roll. So that's kind of the decision I have to come across. I essentially decide to Electric Terrain, and actually he low rolls me. So, if I knew that he would low roll me, going for Terra Ground, Terra Blast would have been better, but this was a roll, like I said. So I think this was still the optimal play because it primes Valiant in a position to do quite well, and especially looking like there's no more Moonblast resist here. Obviously, the Sandy Shocks is Terra Fire, but with some extra chip as well, like should be in range of Aura Sphere, so seems fine. I can just sack Thunderous here, or actually I could sack Quillfish because Quillfish actually has less value than Thunderous, so I just let Quillfish go down, and then I can go into my Valiant and click a button. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click Moonblast here because there's no resist, and I completely forget about the Terra mechanic. This is what I mean when I say I'm inexperienced, because I should always be Aura Sphering there. Always. I get a lucky Spatak drop, which lets me live this hit, but because I'm Life Orb, I'm only going to live, I'm only going to be able to kill this and then be dead to the next hit. So if I Aura Sphered there and killed, I was actually in a decent position, but I fucked up. I completely forgot about Terra Fire defensively, and it's going to cost me. I think, like I said, if I Aura Sphere there, I have a shot. Obviously, T-Bolt doesn't kill the Primarina, but I might have enough switches to allow Darkrai to win. It's hard to say, but Aura Sphere was definitively the play there no matter what, because it killed him even if he Terra'd. There's just me super misplaying. So yes, I go for Vacuum Wave here, try and get as much chip as possible, hopefully get it in range of poison, but unfortunately that's not how it goes. But since, the sun goes away, I should be able to outspeed it with Darkrai anyway, and plus I have Sucker Punch, so even if it didn't go away, I'd have that option. And now Primarina comes in, and it's probably going to be AV. So it is AV, and it's going to Moonblast me, and the only thing I have left is Thunderous. And yeah, even though I could potentially T-Bolt and take this out, which I don't, Scream Tail will take one hit and kill the Thunderous. So couple things there. Obviously the crit blew because I could have just Earthquaked the crit on Iron Treads, obviously. But that aside, I really fucked up this game by completely forgetting about the Terra mechanic, and that's something that is a struggle for me as a primarily Gen 8 player. These extra mechanics drive me crazy because it's that element of surprise that I just despise sometimes. So should have Aura Sphered there, and then it would have been a bit of a more competitive end game, but I think once I clicked Moonblast, he pretty much had it in the bag. So bit of a mistake, and especially terrible in this format to start off with a loss, because it means I can only afford one more loss before bowing out of the tournament completely, and there's so many more games to go before playoffs. So we're basically playing from behind here. Now the thing about this that I didn't mention is that you are playing Swiss. So once I lose, it means I'm playing another 0-1 player. And then if, you know, you lose that one, then you play an 0-2 player, you know, so you're always playing someone with the same record as you. And that's how ultimately, you know, people get weeded out of the competition. So once people have 2 losses, they'll play other people with 2 losses, and people will be like knocking each other out, for example. So anyway, you'll see it as it goes along. But we're 0-1. That's not fun. So we got week 2. This one is against PuttPutt fan, really cool dude, but very, very scary team. Zapdos is a bit of a nightmare, especially for, you know, iron treads and not wanting to get like staticked. Same thing with like physical versions of Valiant become pretty difficult to handle. The fire type Ogerpon is not able to Terra, but it's also something that threatens my team. I basically have no fire answer. I had to bring, you know, a more HO team in order to deal with it. And then Greninja as well. Greninja is Terra in this game. So if it's Terra Water, Specs Terra Water is really scary, among like other potential sets, like, you know, Terra Fire for Abomasnow or something could be really spooky. So I'm basically going to hope that it's not Terra Fire, and I'm going to use Abomasnow as my answer to Greninja. And the way that this is EV'd is that I'm able to live a +3 Gunk Shot from Greninja. I'm able to live a +1 Sludge Wave from Greninja. I'm basically, after Rocks, able to live any Greninja hit at all and KO back with some move. So that's kind of the hope. And then the other win con on this team is the Terra Bug Mew. Bug is actually a really good Terra type here, mainly because of the iron treads, the Tusk, the Donphan thing. Can't really touch me with fighting plus ground. So if I'm Terra Bug, I can set up on it, which is quite cool. And then the other mons, I actually ended up having to bench Thundurus here. Thundurus looked interesting in this matchup, but kind of got outsped by a lot of things. I had to bring like physical acrobatics to hit like certain things well, like the Tusk and the Fire Ogerpon, but then Zapdos kind of beat it, and it was kind of hard to take down Zapdos in general. And Duraludon looks like a really strong dedicated lead to get rocks up, since I need to keep like booster energy treads in the back for speed control purposes. And then I wanted the Abomasnow to take on the Grunt. So I had to bench something, and I think Thundurus was definitely the best bench option. Anyway, we'll see how the game turns out. Again, we're 0-1, so we have to win this unless we want to be like fighting for our lives the rest of the tournament. And leading Duraludon is great because I immediately get my rocks, and he doesn't want to take, you know, damage with Zapdos that he's not prepared to take. So he goes for his rocks again here, and I get to go for T-Wave. So Paralyzing Jirachi is absolutely huge. It's absolutely huge for Mew. It's absolutely huge for Abomasnow to outspeed and Earthquake it. In general, it's just nice for hacks, especially when I get to click Dark Pulse and burn the Colbur Berry, which is so huge for Darkrai as well to potentially win the game. Since I'm Scarf Darkrai, that's my means of like revenging Greninja. It's my means of revenging Trailblaze Ogerpon. Like, I want to keep Scarf Darkrai as an option to win this game as well. And Tusk comes in. Now, this is the other reason why I really like Duraludon as a rocker, because I always live a hit from Tusk. So I can stay in and punish the Rapid Spin by clicking Draco Meteor and doing like 90%. Or I can like live the hit like the Headlong Rush and KO with Draco Meteor. So we'll see what he clicks. He ends up actually switching back out Jirachi to burn the Draco Meteor, which is a really good play on his part. Mainly because, you know, now I have a weakened Spatak. I go for Dark Pulse trying to Paraflinch. It doesn't actually end up working, so we get slow momentum back into Great Tusk, and now he's truly able to Rapid Spin if he wants, but he actually Headlong Rushes here. I live the hit, and even though I'm -2, I can do a huge chunk with Draco Meteor, which is lovely. Now I should have realized something about him going for Headlong Rush there instead of Rapid Spin, because why wouldn't you just Rapid Spin into Headlong Rush if you're any other set? And the obvious answer is probably because it's Scarf in some form, but I didn't think of that at the time. So Headlong Rush comes off here, and now I'm thinking, okay, what do? I don't have ground immunity, so I'm just going to go into treads. I get the booster speed, so I'll outspeed no matter what, and I'm just going to click, I believe I click Knockoff here because it kills. No, I click Rapid Spin, and he spin blocks. So that would have killed the treads if he stayed in, but he successfully spin blocks, so good for him. I knock off, Mystical Fire doesn't KO, and now I try and knock off again to just get extra damage off, and he ends up sacking Jirachi, which is perfect. Now Zapdos comes in, and it doesn't take boots, so I'm like, something is awry here. I'm not going to go for Ice Spinner. because, you know, who knows? And I'm glad that I didn't, because weakness policy is afoot. So I knock off the weakness policy. Now I can revenge with Iron Valiant no matter what. And now he basically has to go into Gren, because Tusk dies to Vacuum Wave, Ogerpon Hearthflame dies to Life Orb CC, and Mismagius dies as well. So he has to go Gren here, and this is amazing because I still have my Abomasnow around, so I don't have to like stress. I can go for Vacuum Wave, just get a little bit of chip off, and take the Surf and die. I think in hindsight, maybe I could have sacked something else, but everything else was full, so just getting damage is really nice. And since he's Terra Electric, I actually don't even need to go into my Abomasnow. I can just go into my Scarf Darkrai and do a bunch of damage. So that's what I'm going to do. There's no more Dark Resist outside of, you know, Tusk, which is in range, so now I can pretty safely spam Dark Pulse. Now here, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at an Ogerpon that can't Terra. I'm looking at a Tusk that's in range of, you know, Dark Pulse or any hit, basically. And I'm looking at Greninja, which is also basically in range of any hit. And in my mind, I conclude that I can switch Scarf Darkrai out and then go back into Darkrai and click Sludge Bomb. And Sludge Bomb should clean the game. I wasn't calcing at this moment because, again, I'm so silly and I don't calc. And I should be calcing more often in games like these, but I just, like, I'm super in the zone. Definitely for DCL, I'm going to be doing much more like intense like calcing and stuff. But obviously, this is a bit more of a casual tour for me and just exciting. So I wasn't calcing this hit. I just assumed Darkrai was strong enough to kill an Ogerpon at 76% with Sludge Bomb, because I think, you know, it should, right? It's a Darkrai, surely. So my line of attack is to sack a Abomasnow and then clean with Sludge Bomb Darkrai. So that's what I end up doing. And he goes for Ivy Cudgel, which makes a lot of sense. So I'm just sacking a Abomasnow here to Ivy Cudgel, and now I'm going to go into Darkrai, and I'm going to spam Sludge Bomb. Surely Darkrai is strong enough to kill Ogerpon with a Sludge Bomb. Not even fucking close. And I died Ivy Cudgel. So that's really fucking bad. Obviously, I can potentially try and set up with Mew, and that's what I end up having to do. Like, I just have to try and set up with Mew in order to win the game. It looks like, you know, if Water Shuriken doesn't get super lucky, I have a shot. I can recover a little bit of health with Leech Life. Looks like there's an opportunity here. Greninja comes in. Will it Leech Life? What will it do? I go for Terra Bug, just to account for, like, you know, any kind of like Scarf Dark Pulse shenanigans. Get the kill with Leech Life, and now Tusk is in. And he Scarf, and he misses Head Smash. Now, what happened here? Because obviously +1 Mew should be faster than +1 Tusk. I changed my Mew speed last minute, not thinking that he would be, you know, the speed boosting Tusk, so I can go Adamant. And it looks like PuttPutt fan just ran like max speed. So I got super punished for that and super rewarded. And I was in a situation where I could have lost there. Now, it was a guaranteed win. This is where I fucked up. It was a guaranteed win if I just go for Dark Pulse on that Ogerpon, because everything afterwards is in range of Abomasnow. I live anyone hit from Greninja and can Earthquake. Tusk is in range of Ice Shard, and then Ogerpon would be in range of Ice Shard after I go for Dark Pulse on the Ogerpon. So super big throw not just stay in and Dark Pulse the Ogerpon and then win with Abomasnow. Instead, I assumed that Sludge Bomb won, and I almost got super punished for it, but I got some fate, I guess. And especially since I got so much bad luck in game 1, I guess it balanced out here. But I'm not gonna lie, this happened at the start of PPL last season as well. Like, I hate these openings that are just so based on luck, and we really, really want to just have a normal, clean game. So that's what we're gonna try and do in the third week. We're 1-1, we're facing someone else who's 1-1. We're facing someone named Beakabutooka, who seems like a pretty dope dude, and it seems like a bit of a crazy builder as well from the teams that I saw of him the first 2 weeks prior. So let's take a look. Matchup, very interesting. Speed Boost Blaziken. I've never faced Speed Boost Blaziken before in my life, so I was very scared of it, but I hear it's not very good, so that's good. And then a lot of scary guys, like Dragalge is spooky. He also has Mew, albeit mine is Terra. This is a Terra Dragalge, which is interesting. And then Enam as well is really scary. I was worried about Scarf, I was worried about Superpower, I was worried about a lot of things. So very interesting team. It's basically bundle Blaziken is really scary into my team because I don't have great water resist and I don't have great fire resist. So it's a bit of an unorthodox team. You don't really see bundle and Blaziken in SV, in like high competitive SV very often, but into my team in particular, they match up quite well. So you'll never guess, we're going more HO again. So we are trying to cook with a bit of a dedicated lead Thundurus that can hopefully catch something like a Dragalge with Nasty Plot Psychic, or potentially lead Bundle with the Yachi Berry into a T-Bolt. We're going to have Sash Darkrai in back so we don't lose to potential sweepers. We're going to have Vacuum Wave Valiant for the same reason, and Breaker Valiant because he doesn't have great resists outside of Metagross, which, takes Shadow Ball or might die to Vacuum Wave if it's in range. Psychic also hurts Dragalge if it tries to be like the Moonblast switch in. But Vacuum Wave is also nice to revenge Blaziken too. So a lot of different options with Life Orb Valiant. The other good thing about Life Orb Valiant is after rocks, Vacuum Wave should just like nuke the Iron Bundle. If he has like a ton of bulk, then it won't kill. But 75% Iron Bundle should die to like a Life Orb Vacuum Wave, which is cool. We just have basically Hazard Control Iron Treads. It's our Fairy Resist as well, so it's nice to come in against Enam. This is kind of our endgame cleaner or breaker, just by clicking Endure. With Swords Dance, Poltergeist, Terra Ghost. There's no Ghost Resist on these teams, so we're just trying to Poltergeist things after getting a +1, maybe kill 2 or 3 things in the process. And then this Rocky Helmet Abomasnow is what we decided is our 6th slot as basically an option for... What the fuck was this for? I think this was for like Superpower Enam maybe, or some other things. Oh, it's Rocky Helmet punishes Flip Turn as well. So this is a nice like potential switch in to Iron Bundle, and Rocky Helmet punishes Flip Turn. I can get Ice Shard to get priority against things like Enam or potentially a Mew. But then in general, Blizzard plus Earth Power hits the entire team. So just, that's the team. But yeah, Dedicated Leap Thundurus, Breaking Mew, Failsafe Darkrai, Breaking Valiant, and potentially Mew or Valiant can win with either Vacuum Wave spam or the Swords Dance Mew depending on the situation. So we're gonna go. Now it's Lead Blaziken instead. I just go for Psychic. I don't want to fuck with it. I wasn't expecting Lead Blaziken at all, so I could have T-Waved, but if it was like Band or Life Orb, I just didn't want to die in one hit. Now he's going to go for Swords Dance and get the speed boost, and I just need a T-Wave here. Just need a T-Wave here so that I, am okay. He Blaze Kick kills me, but that's fine. I have an Iron Treads that should outspeed this in spite of the para and be able to get a Rapid Spin off. So now I'm +2, and if he's Scarf Enam, that's really good for me because it basically means that he can't go into it here. Or even Scarf Bundle, it means he can't go into it, or like Speed Boost Bundle because he's going to take a hit. So he actually goes into Mew, takes a big chunk from Heavy Slam because I'm very offensive, and he goes for Trick Room. And now he goes for Close Combat. I am EV'd to live, this Close Combat. I'm actually not EV'd at all to live this Close Combat. I have like no bulk at all, but I remember calcing it and seeing that I never died at Close Combat, even, as you'll about to find out, Adamant Life Orb Close Combat. So that's a really nice roll. This was a max roll against me though, so it wasn't necessarily a roll. And I go for Heavy Slam and take this out. Now obviously I'm very, very scared because Metagross under Trick Room basically outspeeds my whole team. Abomasnow can't do anything to it. So I need to let Treads go down here just to figure out what this Metagross is. And thankfully, I have the Sash Darkrai. So he goes for Hammer Arm. He's going to get me down to my Sash. I get to go for Dark Pulse. Obviously, I will likely proc the Weakness Policy. But the perk is that I can go for Sucker Punch, except for the fact that he has Bullet Punch. So that's really, really bad. So I need to go into Valiant now, go for Vacuum Wave. And this HO game is like very scary. He's going to go into Bundle. He has just enough HP and bulk to live this hit, KO me with Ice Beam, and now I'm in an interesting spot where potentially Abomasnow is a potential win con, right? Because it outspeeds Dragalge and does a shit ton of damage. This dies to Ice Shard, and then Enam, Mew might be able to beat with the Poltergeist and the Swords Dance. So will the combination of Abomasnow plus Mew prevail? Let's see. We go for Ice Shard, we kill the Bundle, and then we are going to face off against an Enam. So if this is Mystical Fire, I just have to kind of like take it and accept fate. But I am Spadef, so I was guaranteed to live 1. He has actually Superpower, takes the helmet, and now he's going to die to Ice Shard. So that's perfect little 1v1 situation for us. And now Dragalge comes in. It's going to Terra Water as I go for Aura Veil. He goes for Sludge Wave. I just live. I'm very glad I went for Aura Veil there because it puts me in a prime position to like click Swords Dance, which is great. I get to go for Earth Power, just get a little damage off. Obviously, I don't have a Grass move. And behind the Veil, surely SDMU should be able to win. So even though it's a very close HO game, I felt pretty in control most of the time. The Trick Room was very scary and very creative prep on his part. But with the Mew in the back, especially, that wasn't going to take very much from much things. Felt like a really solid win con and something that I was really able to gear towards the entire go. So yeah, GG's. We are now 2-1, and it's pretty scary, but it's fun to climb the ladder from 0-1. So, yeah, we finally have like a relatively clean game. Obviously, it was like a really sick HO game, but not super like hacks determinant, which is lovely. Anyway, game 4. We're gonna take on Dusteet. And he has a very, very scary team. He has Terra, Rillaboom, and he has Terra Archaludon. Terra Archaludon is really scary because it's just defensive Terra plus like stamina is really annoying to deal with. Like Terra Fairy sucks for Darkrai, or Terra Flying sucks for like Valiant and Treads, so that's really spooky. And then he has a couple other things. I think that's Urshifu Rapid Strike, and then he has double fighting with Sneasler and Unburdened Rillaboom. Yeah, absurdly scary. I don't have great like switch-ins to like Banded Woodhammer, like Thundurus as my grass resist. That's kind of shit. So yes, how am I gonna win this? You never guessed it. It's with HO. It's with double focus sash and like, you know, trying to basically spam setup against him. So the win con here, which Jay Scurf and I decided last minute, is a Grassy Seed, Calm Mind, Ice Beam, Draining Kiss Mew, which hopefully should be able to Grassy Seed, get the defense boost, and click Calm Mind, and just continuously click Calm Mind against, you know, stuff like the Corviknight or the Archaludon. Once things are super chipped, I can go for Ice Beam, Draining Kiss to gain some recovery back. It worked quite well in Mox. And then Terra Poison's nice for the Rillaboom. And then we have Expert Belt Darkrai. That's really good to like just outspeed the entire team and get good damage off. Can't really hit the Archaludon too, although, which is kind of unfortunate. Treads is a really strong lead that's just meant to get rocks up and then click Endeavor once I'm down to my Sash. Valiant with Focus Sash is also quite nice just to live a hit in the back and click Swords Dance and click Swords Dance and KO the Archaludon. And if Archaludon like miraculously lives, then I should live the Flash Cannon afterwards. And then this Thundurus is also kind of last minute. I actually think Thundurus looks really good here. With like, you know, Thunderbolt, Focus Blast, Sludge Wave, it kind of hits the entire team. So that's pretty good. I don't necessarily have to Terra to do well. But, you know, having Terra Poison for the Sneasler is nice. And then obviously the Quillfish is also like the dedicated Sneasler answer. So I can like Haze it if it goes for SD. I can Thunder Wave it if it, you know, also goes for SD. I can Flip Turn out. Once, you know, it's paralyzed. Looks pretty good. So this is like interesting prep. We got the double Grassy Seed, the double Focus Sash. But again, we're HOing it up. So I go for rocks here because that's the strategy. And I'm just going to body press here. Why am I just going to body press here? Basically because I don't want to switch anything in. Obviously Quillfish could switch into Urshifu Rapid Strike, but I want to save it for Sneasler. And I just want to get a little bit of damage off on Urshifu Rapid Strike because once it has just a little bit of chip off, then that Draining Kiss from Mew is going to kill it at +1. So I want to make sure it's in range for that. And he just goes Surging Strikes and he kills me. So I could have gone for, did I have Earthquake? No, I didn't have Earthquake. Yeah, so Body Press was literally my best option. And he doesn't kill me with Surging Strikes. That's, I believe, guaranteed, yeah, investment to like not die to a Surging Strikes unless it's like banned or obviously stuff like that. And he isn't. So I'm now feeling a little bit more comfortable going to Quillfish, knowing that he's going to be -1 now that I know that he's not like Choice Band or like Adrenaline or like Clear Amulet or whatever. So I can just sack my Iron Treads here and, you know, now Urshifu's a bit chipped. It kind of looks like a bad situation for me though, because like I didn't really do much, but I did get rocks up, which is lovely. Now this Archaludon really needs to be chipped for Mew. Like Mew really wants this thing chipped, as well as the Nasty Plot Thundurus with like T-Bolt and Sludge Wave. Like look at that thing, like how it like destroys this entire team. So I want to kind of bluff that I'm an offensive Valiant, try and get this thing to Terra so I don't have to click Focus Blast against it. And if it doesn't, and he just tries to kill me with Flash Cannon, I have the Focus Sash. And that's pretty much what happens. Close Combat doesn't pick up the KO, but now it's in range of T-Bolt and my Sash is still there. So I can click Ice Punch, claim the KO, and now T-Bolt looks really free. And now Rillaboom comes in. Terra Grass, very scary, Grassy Glide, but my assumption is that this thing is Choice Band, and this last minute decision of putting Grassy Seed on Thundurus is going to be really nice because it's going to force in Sneasler. And in every single one of my mocks for this game, I never Terra'd Thundurus, I Terra'd Mew. But I looked at the game state and I said, you know what, I think this thing can outright win if I Terra Poison here, because it will guaranteed kill the Rillaboom with Terra Poison Sludge Bomb, and it will take the Dire Claw from the Sneasler and can't get poisoned, so, you know, less chance for static, or like status, rather. And then the other thing is Urshifu Rapid Strike, someone's ringing my doorbell, Urshifu Rapid Strike revealed not to be Scarf as well. Not that it really matters, because I have agility, but like, you know, again, it's fine. So I'm going to Terra Poison here. Point is I want to take the Dire Claw. I want to be okay. I didn't Terra Poison at all in Mox, but I'm very glad I have it here. And I can just go for T-Bolt here. Doesn't kill, but obviously it's not going to do much to me with the defense boost. And especially the Grassy Terrain Recovery will help me out a lot. I can go for Thunderbolt here and KO the Sneasler, which is great. Tornadus comes in. It can go for some hit against me, but, you know, it dies to T-Bolt unless it's AV. It is AV. And we see what move it clicks. It actually clicks T-Wave. Doesn't want to miss the Hurricane. Not that Hurricane. I don't think Hurricane would have KO'd me from this range anyway. And I get to KO again. So obviously the para doesn't necessarily matter because like I would have outspent the next turn anyway. And now his hope is that he kills with Banded Grassy Glide. He does not. He just barely misses out on the KO. It does a lot for like a resisted hit from +1, but he just misses out and then he forfeits. So this was definitely my best performance so far of the tournament because it was just a good set. It was just a set that worked. It was a set that was really good and worked out. So that puts us at 3-1. Now, big news. I got a job. this is why this caveat is important here. So this is week 5. I got a job. I've been job hunting for like 7 months or something like that. And I was super, super like, you know, in the weeds. I was worried that I had to go back to America and all this stuff. Why am I bringing this up? I got my job offer for the job that I'm doing now literally 2 minutes before this 5th game was supposed to start against Wenlas. And Wenlas is really cool. He seems like a really dope guy. And I believe, someone told me he's a really solid Smogon player that has gone deep in tournaments before. So this is going to be a tough one. But, you know, I was feeling good about the team. I'll show you the team in a second. But yeah, I got the job offer literally 2 minutes before the game started. So I was kind of shaking and my mind was on other things. So you'll see how the game goes on in a second. But concept for this team really is it's Terra, King Gambit, I'm pretty sure. That's super spooky. But thankfully between like Willow, Taunt, like Darkrai should be able to handle it. This is my first time trying Booster Speed Valiant. Encore Destiny Bond also helps versus the King Gambit. So I don't think my King Gambit matchup is necessarily that bad. But we don't really have a win con here, which I think is a problem from this team, is we have a lot of like defensive and answers to things, but we don't necessarily have a win con. I think in Mox I was just trying to win with like Booster Speed Valiant. But it's not really sustainable when I'm like Destiny Bond and Encore and stuff like that. So basically, you know, the concept of the team is that I get up rocks with treads, it's, you know, it's more offense, and then I kind of just tinker around with status plus like spamming different moves. And that's kind of it. So let's see how it goes. So we go treads, and he leads Cyclizar, and he goes for Mud Slap. I'm not fucking joking. He goes for Mud Slap. Now this is Terra Ground Cyclizar as well. This was also Terra King Gambit. He was Terra Flying King Gambit, but it's also Terra Ground Cyclizar. So once he Terra Grounds, this Mud Slap becomes 60 base power because that's how, you know, weaker moves works with Terra. So like I guess it makes sense, but Mud Slap is so unbelievably annoying. Especially I'm like stressed about this job like that I just got. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And then I see Mud Slap and I'm like, my emotions are like everywhere. I go Duraludon here because I don't think Mud Slap is going to do a lot to me, and hopefully I can KO with like a move. So I predict him to switch out because obviously, like, why would you want to die to a Draco? He actually just stays in, says, you know what, I'm going to Mud Slap you and you're going to miss. And I missed my Flash Cannon because I was predicting Tinkaton to come out on a Draco, and doesn't, and it's just a waste of a turn, really. So I go back in Iron Treads. I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. He goes for U-turn, and I've basically accomplished nothing so far. So I'm going to go for Stone Edge here, barely not pick up the KO, rather, and this means I don't get my rocks up, which is quite sad. So I can at least go into Mew and, like, threaten with Mew. Now, this Mew set's really cool because it's, like, it's just a hard wall to Sneasler with Terra Poison. But I need to keep it, like, safe and around, so I just go into Thunderous on this Tinkaton. I probably should have gone into Duraludon and just started spamming Flash Cannon because it's pretty unguardable, and I can body press the King Gambit, but I go into Thunderous for some reason. Definitely a bit of a misplay, especially because I go for T-Wave when I literally already outspeed this thing. So I probably should have just T-bolted it twice, now that that was in as well. So kind of some consecutive misplays for me here. But again, I'm like, my brain is somewhere else at this point. I finally go into the Duraludon. Definitely am messing up here because I've just wasted my Thunderous. And I go for Flash Cannon again. Rocks come up. I go for Flash Cannon again. KO the Tinkaton. And Eviolate's gone, so I'm definitely dead to Earth Power here, like super dead, but that's okay. I actually see a really solid way for me to win this, because I know that this thing's going to be locked in Earth Power. I'm pretty sure it's going to be choiced. I can go for Ice Beam here, And I switch out because I don't want to risk Scarf Sneasler, so I just go into Mew and he reveals Endure. And I'm like, okay, this is some like Endure, like reversal type shenanigans. Makes sense, potentially, but you know, now I know. And I'm going to go for, what am I going for here? I go for Earth Power because it hits pretty much everything, and I don't think Enam's coming in against Terra Poison Mew. I go for Will-O-Wisp against the Kingambit here as well, and take the Kowtow Cleave, but I obviously don't have recovery on this, so I have to be really careful in terms of how much damage I take. Thankfully, I don't think Sneasler can revenge me with anything. With the Citrus Berry, it's not going to, like, you know, it'll be fine. But this Cyclizar now gets to come in with Terra Ground fucking Mud Slap, and I can't do anything about it. I don't miss the Psychic Noise, thankfully, so that's something. But yeah, really spooky. Really spooky. I go into my Darkrai now, though, and Ice Beam is pretty much unguardable. He can go into Sneasler, but it's a bit of a risk, so we just let the Cyclizar go down. And shockingly, despite me playing kind of weird and like sacking my Thundurus for no reason, I can see a way to win this because I know that this thing is not Scarf, and he's going to have to Endure here if he doesn't want to die to Psychic. So I am going to go for Will-O-Wisp. He actually doesn't end up going for Endure. He ends up going for Dire Claw, predicting me to go into my Speed Boost Valiant. But I don't. So now I decide to go into my Speed Boost Valiant because the way that I win this versus Scarf Enam, because I can't KO Scarf Enam with Valiant, and it outspeeds Darkrai, is essentially I need to come in with Valiant. I need to click a button. I probably need to click Moonblast. If he switches into Enam, then it'll die to 2. If he stays in, then it'll die. And then when Enam comes in to try and KO me back, I can Destiny Bond and then win with Last Mon Darkrai. So that's what I'm trying to do here, which means I have to come in on Sneasler and I have to risk the Dire Claw. If he sleeps me or paralyzes me, I lose. But if he doesn't, then I should win by just clicking Moonblast into Destiny Bond. That's the plan. That's the goal. And he goes for it. Do we get it? No, we do not. We get slept by Dire Claw. This seems like a very sort of like peak, you know, Smogon Draft Tour experience from like the conversations I was having. They were like, yeah, you can't have a Smogon Draft Tour without getting like Dire Claw slept at least once throughout the run. So it's fine. We end up losing here. Basically, we end up losing because of that Dire Claw sleep, but also I played really badly in terms of just sacking my Thundurus for no reason. And to be honest, like I got really lucky that day because of like getting a new job. So, you know, I'm fine with it balancing out just a little bit there. But that's 3-2. Now, what does that mean? It means the next time we lose a game, we're out, and we have to go 7-2, which means that we need to win the next 4 games. We need to go 4-0 in the next 4 games in order to win. So I went pretty hard. I said, you know what? I don't want to go out at 3-3. I want to make a video about this, and I'm not going to make a video about this if I go 3-3. Like, you know, that's going to be not fun. So, you know, you've got to have a good run. So I'm going to show you these next 2 games, and I'm just going to say, like I slaughtered these next 2 games, but there's not much to talk about them. I gotta sneeze. Oh my god, I gotta sneeze, you all. Do I have to sneeze? It feels like I have to sneeze. Maybe I have to drink water. Doing these long things is tough. But it's the future. Alright, so we have to win the next 4 games. So I'm going to show these next 2 games and show you how it goes. I went really hard at these next 2 games. In particular, I went really hard with Mew. I basically spent a lot of time in the workshop, a lot of time with J-Scarf. Shout out to J-Scarf. Like, we basically had a very similar team, so we were like doing a lot of stuff together, a lot of team prep together. And I cooked this matchup with a Terra Electric Charge Beam Calm Mind Mew. I think it looked really nice. My opponent had Terra Superior, which people used to think is really good, but is kind of sort of fallen off lately. Also had Terra Sablage, so interesting stuff. But yes, my opponent, I think his name is Noodly. Very, very strong team just with the Terra Serp and the Deoxys. Really, really spooky, especially since, again, my grass resists aren't great, so I was forced to bring Duraludon as a, you know, superior answer, which, you know, can T-Wave and then Body Press / Draco Meteor. I was T-Bolt, Dark Pulse Nasty Plot. I believe this is my dedicated lead. We'll find out in the actual game. But yeah, the win con really is trying to encore something like Deoxys defense with this Mew, or encore like the Zapdos or whatever. And then start Calm Mind Charge Beaming. And that's kind of what we're going for here. I'm not even going to attempt to explain the EVs. And then we have, you know, a knockoff Darkrai, which I thought was really neat because Darkrai kept getting walled by Keldeo bizarrely. Like Scarf Keldeo was really annoying, coming in on Dark Pulse and then threatening me out. So this time around, I'm actually Choppleberry. So if I find myself in a 1v1 situation, I can take a fighting move, knock off, and then go for Psychic after I outspeed. Or if Keldeo tries to switch in on me, I can click knock off on it, click Psychic, and it's a good situation for me. So that was really cool tech as well on this team. Is there any other tech worth mentioning? I don't think so. Again, like basic, like mons I don't explain, I think are pretty intuitive, like Valiant Breaker, Hazard Control Treads, etc. Let's go into the game. This game's fun. I really like this game. This game, it showcases the power of Terra Mew, which I'm super excited about. So he goes into King Gambit on my lead Thundurus. It reveals AV, so I actually don't want to set up Nasty Plots yet. I just want to go into Treads because I know this thing can't Terra. This isn't Terra King Gambit this time around, so I can pretty much just go into Treads on a hit and use it as an opportunity to get on my box, which I will do. And now I want to knock because I want to get this thing's boots gone so that Terra Electric Mew can set up. And that's the other reason I'm Terra Electric Mew, because it's really nice setup fodder versus Zapdos. Or Zapdos, rather, is nice setup fodder for it. I'm going to go into my Thundurus, just take some damage, and now start pressuring again with T-Bolt. I would just want to pressure things down. And now that it has taken that T-Bolt hit, you know, it's only going to have 10% left on switch in. That's really good for me. He's going to go into Serp. And it's not Terra Ground Serp, so I go for my Paralysis chance, and I get it. It's very lucky, but, like, you know, he gave me the opportunity to paralyze. I'm going to do it. I go into my Duraludon. He gets paralyzed again, and I'm just going to start spamming Flash Cannon. It gets really unlucky with Paralysis this year, but, you know, he let me get that para in the first place. Draco Meteor barely misses out on the KO, but it's fine. He could be Synthesis. If he is, then it's not the biggest deal in the world because I can switch out, but he's not. He goes for Leech, and I get to KO the Serp, which is amazing for me. And now, you know, Deoxys comes in. He's going to go for Calm Mind. I'm saying, oh shit, I might lose to Calm Mind. So I go for knockoff here. I just want to get rid of whatever it is. And he goes for Calm Mind again. And I'm saying, okay, he has to recover here, because if he attacks me, then he's going to get revenge by something else. So I'm able to encore this thing into recover, which is great. And now I can start setting up myself, which is really, really good. Click Calm Mind. Secret Sword comes off. It's going to do very little. I guess he expected me to Terra, but I'm not Terraing in front of this Keldeo. And at this point, I'm in a good spot. He really can't do anything, and this win-con setup Mew is going to do a lot. This thing can't set up alongside me because I can always encore it into a move. So now I'm just going to start Terraing, get that extra damage with that Terra Electric Boosted Charge Beam, which is 60 base power instead of 50 because of, like I said earlier, like the same thing that happened with Mudslap. And he can't really do anything here. Like, this is it. I have Fire Blast for this thing, so it's going to do a shit ton of damage, aka kill it. And then everything else can't really beat me. He goes into Ceruledge. He's not Terra Ground Ceruledge. Terra Ground Flash Fire Ceruledge did hardwall this set, but I just didn't really expect it to come. Yeah, and that's it. We got a 6-0. I've never gotten, like, I mean, I've gotten a 6-0s before, but, like, it's very rare for me. Like, I'm such, like, an offensive player that usually, like, my games are very close. Even if they're dominant, like, they're close ones because I make, like, a lot of strategic sacks and stuff. So to just have, like, the setup Mew just kind of outright win feels pretty good. It's very rare that I usually get 6-0s, even though I know I'm a good player. So, anyway, we won. Obviously, I spoiled that we won this game in the last game, but it's a really cool Terra Mew set, and I like it a lot. Second game. Another really, really cool set, which I was really stoked about, and that is a couple things. I mean, it's not necessarily like a ridiculously fancy team like the one before. It's just Dragon Dance Mew. Like, Dragon Dance Terrifying Mew looks really solid here in this game with like Gunk Shot, Drain Punch, etc. But I think the other thing, really, and I'm just leaning into it at this point, is T-Wave spam. Like, this team struggles with T-Wave spam because everything hates being T-Waved except Sandy Shock. Sandy Shock gets Grass Knotted and can't 2-KO me with Power Gem because of the Citrus Berry. And if he wants to go into, you know, freaking King Gambit, be my guest, he's going to take a, you know, Rocky Helmet Quillfish and take some damage. The other cool thing about this team that I really liked was Double Destiny Bond, which is just really nice to get some key things dead. So it's really just Double Destiny Bond, Win-Con Mew. I think, you know, I don't know if it was dedicated lead Thundy, I think it was, or it was dedicated lead Treads. We'll find out in a second. So let's do it. Lead Noivern, yeah, it was definitely dedicated lead Thundurus because it was meant to 1v1 the Shocks. But we T-Waved the Noivern, perfect. We get the full para, perfect. T-Wave is broken. Get fully paralyzed again. Sandy Shocks is going to come in now. T-Bolt again happens, that's fine. A Grass Knot, I know it's 2 KO. I know that I'm never dead to 2 Power Gems. He actually goes for Light Screen, so that's great for me. He's going to go into Gengar here. Grassknot's obviously going to do nothing, but I can T-Wave this, obviously, so that's amazing. Now I have 2 really fast things T-Waved, but he can Encore me, that's fine, but I still have my Citrus Berry intact, and I'm still at full health, so that's all good. I'm going to go into my Iron Treads, because I know I can revenge you with Earthquake after. That's the other thing. Iron Treads looks insane this game. Like, Heavy Slam kills Gengar from full, Earthquake kills, you know, Sandy Shocks and King Gambit, and then Heavy Slam also kills Noivern and Enam, and then I think I was I Edge for, no, I wasn't, I was just Earthquake. But still, like, you know, strong. He's going to go into Ogerpon knowing that, you know, I am not dead to anything. I'm actually going to go Quillfish because I, you know, feel fine against King Gambit with my other potential options, and actually outspeed a Paralyzed Noivern. So despite him making the double, Gunk Shot's going to do a ton of damage. That's going to be great. And I'm going to go into Treads here. On the Swords Dance, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to be dead to a Sucker Punch, so I can click Earthquake here. That's fine. If he wants to make a double, that's also fine. I'm never dead to any one hit. Heavy Slam always kills, even after the defense boost. This is a great position for me as well. And Ogerpon comes in. Now I could stay in, or I could switch out. I decided to switch out into Quillfish, which is like fine. He goes for Shadow Ball. And this actually ends up revealing Scarf, because otherwise it would have outsped. So my idea was I get 1 layer of spikes up and then I go for damage. But since it's Scarf, that's good information to have. He actually gets paralyzed trying to kill my Iron Treads, but it's kind of bad for me here because now because of the disable, I have to go into Quillfish, which is not fun. Goes for Terra Poison, clicks Swords Dance against me, and I want to like Destiny Bond so bad, but I think he might Swords Dance again, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going for Chip here, knowing full well that I have a Sash Darkrai, and Sash Darkrai should be able to handle it. The Rocky Helmet Chip will put it in range slowly. That's fine. So I'm just going to go for damage here. He's going to go for Sucker Punch, barely miss out on the KO. I was Sash anyway. I'm going to go for Psychic, and it barely doesn't kill. But my hope is I can go for Hypnosis here. This is my first time bringing Hypnosis Darkrai. And the perk of bringing Hypnosis here is that it means Sucker Punch fails. I can click Hypnosis here, and if it lands, then it's dead to Bad Dreams. If it misses, then I can try for it again. And, you know, same thing will go. Even if that sequence didn't work out, I still had, you know, the Valiant, which was never dead to a Sucker Punch, and then would have killed the Ogerpon. So I was fine either way. I was absolutely fine. Poison this thing, die to the Trailblaze, and we're good from there. So very dominant game. All right, next game. This is the moment of truth, people, because, you know, it's getting pretty lucky. It's balanced out for some of the unluck. Like both of our losses definitely had some bad luck against us, but we've also had some good luck, some good fortune as well. I would say it's been pretty balanced here, but we've mostly played a lot of players who I'm not too familiar with. I know Wenlas was probably the most like known player that I played, but generally speaking, we played a lot of people who, you know, just are here. This week, or week 8, this next game, where we are now, what, 5-2? And bear in mind, if I lose any game from here on out, I'm out of the tournament. And I really want to go 6-2, and then 6-3, maybe, or it's 7-2 and make playoffs, who knows. But my goal is to go 6-3. So I win this next game, I meet my goal, which is amazing. So just one more game, right? Just one more game. Except we are playing fucking Gorex. And Gorex, for those who do not know, is an amazing Scarlet Violet player. I think people would consider him, I don't know if a top 10, but maybe a top 15 Scarlet Violet player. His, you know, stats don't lie. And he was drafted for a ton in the DCL. He's actually my teammate in DCL as well. So it was cool to play him like the same week that we both got drafted by the same team in DCL. But the other thing is he, at the time of us playing this, was the #1 ranked draft league player on Smogon's leaderboard. So a rough pairing for me. And this is someone, again, this is my first time with Gen 9 tournament experience. This is someone who is clearly very well versed in it. So it is going to be an uphill battle. He is having a very interesting run where he has a good team, but he has, you know, it's a good team. I don't know. I think what he was telling me is he was having a couple rough matchups, so that's why he was 5-2 and not like 7-0. I have full faith. You know, he's done really well in other tournaments before. So I was like, oh my God, why? I literally saw the matchup and I like broke out laughing. I'm like, of course, in order to like, you know, meet my goal for the tournament, I have to fucking beat Gorex. It's gonna be tough. He's better at me. He's better than me at this format. So we're really gonna try our best. And how are we gonna do it? This is Terra Torn. Terra Torn is very, very strong. It's also Terra Monkey Dory, but I think it's the most likely to be Terra Torn. Hazard's Tinglu is really scary. Gouging Fire is really scary. Terrapagos has been like making waves in this tournament. This is our first Terrapagos we had to fight. And then Scizor is really spooky as well because it revenges Valiant. So what did we bring? We brought Scarf Valiant because I think that, you know, Torn will inevitably probably Terra, and I predicted Terra Ground Torn. And if it Terra Ground Torns, then the only fighting resist is Monkey Dory, and I don't think Monkey Dory is switching into Valiant that frequently. So Scarf, you know, fighting move looks really good. It's also probably my best way to revenge Gouging Fire. Like, obviously, this is my second time playing Gouging Fire. The first time did not go very well. I tried to wall it with a Quillfish. It didn't work. So I'm not trying that method again. I'm going to try and offensively revenge it. And just having Scarf CC to do that and do like 60% after hopefully I've damaged it with something else. That's pretty good. The lead Iron Treads is here. J Scarf and I really worked on this really hard to figure out what we want the dedicated lead to be. And just Sash Endeavor is really strong because we go for rocks, we go for Endeavor, we break something down, and then we die, and that's fine. Next thing we realized that I'll point to down here is that Gorex had no flying resist, so we're just a bulk up rest acrobatics set with taunt, which means we're not Prankster, we're Defiant because we want to be able to taunt the Tinglu from Whirlwinding. And we're Terra Ghost to try and beat down the Terrapagos. E-Belt Darkrai is really strong. We can Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, Ice Beam things. Ice Beam is for the Tinglu, but it could be weakness policy, so I might want to Hypnosis the Tinglu and just say, you know what, I'm taking on a good player. Let's try and get a little bit lucky against him and land a Hypnosis. But like, especially just +2 Ice Beam is going to do a ton to the Tinglu. It won't kill though. Hypnosis is also really strong for Terrapagos because if I land the Hypnosis, then it'll take Bad Dreams and the Terra Shell will get broken. That'll be in range of Dark Pulse at +2. Duraludon's really scary. This is what I'm going to try and use this time around as like a potential Gouging Fire answer, so I can take an EQ from full, kill back with Draco Meteor, which is nice. But I'm also quite Spadef, so I can deal with Monkey Dory, as well as like Torn if needed. And then this is the real win con, Terra Water Spadef Mew. I'm able to take a bunch of hits from Torn, from Terrapagos, from Monkey Dory. Very Spadef, and if I get two Dragon Dances up, then I automatically win the game. And Terra Water is also very nice, you know, against Gouging Fire as well. Liquidation or Earthquake Flare Blitz should hit the entire team, right? Flare Blitz, Earthquake, Liquidation is Stab versus Terrapagos. Earthquake, Liquidation, Liquidation. Yeah, so let's see how it goes. I think I made a good team for it. Torn comes in, Iron Treads comes in, and shockingly on turn 1, I find out I outspeed. This is amazing for me because I get to fire off an Endeavor here. And even though it's going to regen it off, it means the Torn is going to be chipped, it's going to be low, and it's going to be in range of a future hit. So I'm going to go into Darkrai to outspeed and threaten the Torn. Gonna go for Ice Beam here. And thankfully, it is not weakness policy. I was really worried about weakness policy, but thankfully it's not. And I'm just going to go for a Hail Mary Hypnosis. If he body presses, that's fine. I would have lived the hit if I missed. And I think this is just the opportunity to do it. And it works. So I go for Nasty Plot because I have that free turn of sleep. Bullet Punch is not going to kill me, and I get to kill this Scizor with Dark Pulse, which is great. He's going to go into Terrapagos. He will always live this hit, and I can't go for Hypnosis. So I'm just going to Dark Pulse. If I flinch, I might just win the game, but obviously I don't flinch. And he's going to go for Rock Polish. Now, Rock Polish I did not expect. I expected like Rapid Spin. So Rock Polish is really scary because it actually outspeeds my Scarf Valiant. So it puts me in a really tricky situation. I have to burn my Duraludon in order to take this on, which is okay because I can T-Wave this thing, and if it goes wrong, then I can Revenge with Valiant. But it means I have to burn my Duraludon, which makes Monkey Dory a bigger threat. It makes Gouging Fire a bigger threat, etc. Thankfully, I get a full para. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world because I could have revenged with literally anything at that point, but, you know, it puts me in a situation where I get the momentum this turn. So Monkey Dory is going to click Psychic, and I'm going to go into my Terra Mew. I'm going to click Dragon Dance thinking that this is potentially choice locked, but it's not. He goes for Sludge Wave and he gets the poison. That's a really bad spot for me because getting the poison basically means that I can't get my leftovers recovery. And I think like I had a good shot to win if I don't get poisoned here because I can just like, you know, get some leftovers recovery, take subsequent hits from Gouging Fire and stuff. But really like, it's not the end of the world. It obviously means I can't Dragon Dance again. It means I just have to go for Earthquake. And it means since this isn't Scarf, I don't need the second Dragon Dance necessarily. But it's a bit spooky. He's going to get the regen with Torn so that he lives the Liquidation if he can help it. He's going to sack the Tinglu in order to get that damage off. But realistically, what he's doing here is he's racking up extra poison on me, which is really smart. So he's going to go into Gouging Fire. He's going to want to kill me with a Dragon move, but he actually goes for Dragon Dance. And he goes for Dragon Dance because he saw that as his best out to win. And it's not, because I have enough speed to outspeed his Gouging Fire. And all of a sudden, despite the poison, this Mew is going to win. This Mew is going to beat Gorex, the number 1 SV Smogon player. And just like that, in 18 turns, I managed to knock him out of the tournament. That was a very, very big upset, and something that I was very proud of myself to be able to accomplish, because like I said, I'm pretty inexperienced at this format. So not only to like meet my goal at 6-2 is really nice, but to do it beating on paper the number 1 ranked player, that's freaking awesome. Gorex is also a super dope dude, so much love to him. Now, even if he killed my Mew there with Gouging Fire, I feel like I would have been fine because I had Scarf Valiant to just click CC and revenge the Gouging Fire, and even though I don't kill the Torn with Scarf CC and it might kill me back, I'm pretty sure the bulk up Thunderous would be able to beat the Torn 1v1. It's hard to say, but I think it would. So, and again, all this happened only because he got the poison. So this was actually probably one of my strongest victories. Obviously, I think I'm a much better builder than I'm a player. And when I get wins like this, obviously, it looks kind of like I just had a really good build and I won. And that's pretty much what happened. I didn't really have to make any crazy plays because I just had a really good build to beat Gorex, and that felt really solid. So didn't have to make any crazy plays. A lot of the prep was really in the workshop where the team was getting made, and it completely paid off, and it was a really good feeling. So yeah, all right. But the job's not done. We have to win this next game in order to make playoffs. And to give you context here, there's about, 60-something people left in the tournament at this point, which means that we've already made the top 14% of the tournament, despite being in a situation for the last 4 games where if we lose, then we're out. So this is our win and in playoff game. It is against Rasche, another person who is a bit more experienced in the Smogon scene, and I think came to draft through Smogon. And he's also been on a tear, very much similar to me. He lost week 1 and then has been on a tear ever since. And he's a pretty scary team with the Hisui and Quillfish, which beats the Darkrai. The Mimikyu is also really scary because it means I can never really go for game immediately with one thing. Jirachi is quite scary, albeit we have faced it before. The thing that he has is Terra Iron Boulder, and Terra Iron Boulder is kind of spooky. What it forces me to do is it forces me to run a bulky Mew in the back that can live any one hit from +2 Iron Boulder. And that's kind of what we gotta do. So it's just very defensive, and it is Scald Thunderbolt. I kind of predict him to be, Terra Ground in order to hit Iron Treads, as well as Duraludon. So, and the reason he wouldn't be Terra Fighting is just because Scarf, or rather Valiant can outspeed it, or can it? I don't know why it wouldn't also be Terra Fighting. Whatever. Point being, I have enough defense on this Mew to live any one hit, and I don't worry about hazards because of the boots. And I can either Trick Room and Scald if that KOs, or I can just roar it out if it's that much of an emergency. And everything else looks really solid. Scarf Darkrai is there just to revenge the Gren. Obviously, this is Battle on Gren again, and I want to be able to revenge it. Also, it revenges +1 Boulder, Photosynthesis Boulder, and kills it with Foul Play. So that's pretty cool, assuming it's +2. Scarf Thunder revenges the Gren, which is great. This Abomasnow with Custap Berry was the last minute addition. It's just also there to kind of beat the Boulder if it's trying to win, or even beat the Boulder, but also Custap in general is quite nice, especially with Earthquake Leaf Storm, which hits the entire team literally for at least neutral, and I'm mixed, so I can Leaf Storm into Earthquake and do some damage. And then Ice Shard's really nice for Lando too. And then Life Orb Valiant, also, again, just really solid breaker. But yeah, WinCon really is this either Mew going for Trick Room and then, cleaning, or potentially just Scarf Darkrai cleaning. Those are the 2 potential WinCons. And then this Thunderous I was really excited about because I haven't faced Lando T yet. What I can do is I can Adrenaline Orb plus Defiant. So if Lando switches in against me, or even Quillfish Hisui, I get the Defiant boost and I get the speed boost, and that's really solid for me because then I get the Acrobatics. I can knock off Quillfish as a Violate and start doing damage. Got a lot of options there. So see how the game goes. Lead Thunderous, that's my dedicated lead. If he leads either as Quillfish or Lando, I get punished. Now this is a very interesting turn 1. Why do I go for knockoff on this turn? Why do I knock off a Gren? That's a great question. basically because I don't think he's going to stay in. And if he does stay in, he's probably going for spikes and getting Terra Ground off. So I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to knock off because I don't think that if you're an offensive Gren, especially seeing the Thunderous sets that I've been bringing in past weeks, you're just going to like rock like Ice Beam for some reason. So I go for knockoff, predicting either a switch out or him to be like, you know, Protean spikes. And it works out for me. Eviolate's gone, but he's not Intimidate, so I don't get my Defiant boost, but I am able to bulk up in front of this, which is quite nice, and Liquidation is going to do basically nothing. Unfortunately, the Poison Point is really shit, because if the Poison Point wasn't there, he was going to have a hell of a hard time revenging this Thunderous, especially with the potential of me going for Terra Water against the Iron Boulder. So, it's fine though. The Eviolate is knocked off. I can get some damage off with Thunder Punch, because obviously I don't think there's a universe he's going to go hard into Landorus Therian. And I can just click Acrobatics here. On the off chance he's trying to like switch something out. Obviously my item wasn't burned yet, but if he went into Lando, then he would burn my item, I would kill my Lando, and then I would kill the Lando, which is, you know, straightforward. So I just end up trading one form of the Quillfish. Is it okay? It's pretty okay, because it means that Scarf Darkrai has definitely opened up a bit more as a win con, as well as the Mew. So, and I've prevented spikes from going up. So, did I kill and bait the Lando? No. Did I have an exchange that was worth it? I would say so. We're going to go into Treads here. He's going to go into Lando. Now, this is a very interesting situation. I have the Core Drive speed boost up. I could have been Shuka in this instance and like knock off an Ice Spinner, but I wanted to be booster speed just to outspeed the Gren by chance or anything like that. What do I decide to do here? I can either go for my Rocks to get some damage, or I can just go for knockoff to try and get rid of a potential Choice Scarf, because Choice Scarf was looking really scary into my team and I wanted to be able to revenge it with Life Orb Valiant. Instead, I just ended up knocking off the Yachi Berry, which isn't the worst thing in the world because I do have the Abomasnow, and you know, that's fine. But it does mean I die to Earth Power. I basically was going to die to anything, and it looks like a big waste of my Iron Treads. But I do think knocking off does give me some value here, and puts, you know, Landorus in a situation where it's just less scary, to be honest. So we're going to go Darkrai here. On the Greninja, I'm going to go for Ice Beam to attempt to revenge, because I don't think there's anything else that revenges too well. And then I get to go to an Abomasnow here, and he goes for U-turn. And the Abomasnow is very similar to my Abomasnow in week 2, where it was sort of like, you know, take any one hit from a Greninja. Obviously, this wasn't Terra Greninja, so it was a bit easier to do this. But since he's U-turn, it kind of doesn't work out, because now I have to, you know, stare down this fucking Landorus, which, you know, just wants to get damage on me, basically, so I'm in range of things like Mimikyu. So I'm going to let him get damage on me. He can't kill me with any one hit, and he actually puts me in Custap range with this. And this is why I didn't go for Ice Shard, because I actually kind of wanted to get into Sludge Wave range, or get into Custap range, and see if he would potentially let me have that. So this might be pretty damning in the back, especially if there's a Boulder or a Gren boosted up. Just having is quite nice. It does mean I have to go into my Darkrai and sack my Darkrai, but I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, think that that one-time Custap Berry from Abomasnow is going to be better than a Scarf Darkrai, because what does Scarf Darkrai lock into? It can't lock into Foul Play, it can't lock into Ice Beam, can't lock into Thunder because of Landorus T, it can't lock into Dark Pulse, so I didn't think Scarf Darkrai looked too great here, especially with Mimikyu around. If Mimikyu was something else, I think there were other mons on the team that were better for the Darkrai, but Mimikyu being around made Scarf Darkrai very hard to win with. So I have to go into Valiant here and hope that he gives me this Mimikyu, which he actually does. He probably should have switched out and sacked Lando, but I imagine he doesn't want me to set up, so staying in is probably optimal. But thankfully, Life Orb Valiant is a fucking demon and KOs the Mimikyu. This will allow me to click Shadow Ball against the Jirachi, and this is great too, because I'm now looking at this and I'm saying, okay, if I can like Ice Shard kill the Landorus, and surprise, like, you know, Custap hit with one of these things, the Trick Room Mew with the water move is looking quite good, because this is Terra Ground Boulder. So, you know, T-Bolt the Gren, water move the Boulder, water move the Landorus, and then with just a little chip on Rachi, like, this looks solid. So we don't actually die to Iron Head. That puts me in a great spot. It means he has to sack Lando, so it's just, you know, one more mon dead. And now he basically has to decide what to go into. If he doesn't have Shuriken, then it's in a tough spot. Doesn't look like he does, so he's going to let me die to my own Life Orb by baiting the Vacuum Wave. But what this allows me to do is it allows me to go for Trick Room, except he T-Waves me, which shouldn't be the biggest deal in the world, right? Because I'm Trick Room, but I get fully paralyzed. I Terra Water here, and shockingly, I don't get flinched from Iron Head. I'm able to go for Trick Room here, and now all of a sudden, between Boulder and the Gren, I look like I'm in a pretty good position. Plus, I still have this Custap Berry mon in the back that can click Leaf Storm. I go for Scald. The crit obviously doesn't matter because it was a 2-hit KO. He goes for Swords Dance, and I kill this with Scald as well. And I get T-Bolt this Gren. Crit doesn't matter. This KOs, and Tricker Mew wins the game. I was looking definitely behind the entire time, but I saw the win con in Tricker Mew and took it. So that's it. We made playoffs. We went 7-2. I was not expecting to go 7-2 in this, but we did, and that's great. Except for the fact that we didn't, because turns out the numbers didn't math. And there need to be 32 people for playoffs, and there were about 42 people remaining. So they needed to do a play-ins, essentially, and add another round so that they could narrow it down to 32. And of course, I was in the lower echelon of seeds because I had lost 2 games, which means I have to play 1 more game to get into playoffs. But to me, like, based on the criteria I was given, I fucking made playoffs, right? Like, I made playoffs. I did the things I needed to do it, and I did, and I'm very proud of myself, and I did better than my, goals were. And by this point, I was already in the weeds for DCL. I was really focusing on DCL, which is the Smogon Team Tour, which you'll see a lot of on this channel soon. So ultimately, did I take this play-in game too seriously? No. I have 5-minute build for it. I'm very happy with how I did in this tournament. I feel like it was a perfect, step into the tournament scene for me, and a nice little showcase for, a Wi-Fi player to succeed. There were other Wi-Fi players in the league, like Jesse504 and OG Albina and a couple other folks, and they all got knocked out before I did. So I'm still the supreme Wi-Fi player. It's fine. But, ultimately, DCL was the focus, and I kind of 5-minute build for this game. So let's see how it goes. We're playing Roller, who, from what it seems, is actually quite a good draft league player. So I don't want to undersell anything in this game. Like, he seems quite good. He also has a disgusting team that I had no interest prepping for, between like Terra Garganackle and like a Moongus. Like, I'm good, thank you. But I 5-minute build for this, and kind of just wanted to bring some fun stuff to presumably round off my tournament experience, for this tournament. The other reason I want to do this is because for playoffs they redraft, so that people have new drafts for playoffs, since you've been playing for like 10 weeks, etc. And I really didn't want to do a redraft. So if I win, I win, but if I don't, I'm okay with that. Like I said, I already met my goal. So I just wanted to bring some fun stuff. So what's the fun stuff? We got Weakness Policy, Calm Mind, Darkrai to try and bait the Florges. We got Red Card Iron Treads to try and like Stealth Rock and then Steel Beam. Who knows if this is gonna work? We have Encore Swords Dance, just a lot of setup spam with Speed Boost Valiant. We have Swords Dance of Bomb Snow, so we have double Swords Dance. I don't know what the hell Swords Dance of Bomb Snow is doing here. My plan for Chi was to endure Earthquake, so it says a lot. And then Mew is Covert Cloak for the Garganackle with Dragon Dance 3 attacks, and then Thundurus was just acrobatic spam, I guess. I didn't really know what to do with Thundurus, so I kind of just said, you know what, I have not brought itemless acrobatics yet. And the only answer really is Garganackle, so if I taunt the Garganackle down, then maybe one of these other sweepers can win. That was kind of the idea. Anyway, let's do it. I'm still trying this game. I'm still genuinely trying to win. I'm not throwing in the towel, but very silly team, very silly build, and of course I get a crit turn 1. That's fine. He knocks off my red card, which makes me really sad. I just go for Steel Beam again. You know what? This is good chip. I got good chip against the Latios, good chip against Great Tusk. Maybe I should have gone for rocks there, but it is what it is. I just go Darkrai, and he reveals Scarf, which is good to know. Go for Calm Mind and realize, oh shit, okay, this is the opportunity. So I go for Sludge Bombs to a KO. He actually goes for Light Screen. So I choose to Calm Mind again because I imagine a Moonblast is coming off, but he actually synthesizes. So I'll Sludge Bomb again. Get the poison, but it's fine because Moonblast is coming off here. I get the Weakness Policy boost, and holy shit, we're cooking. Holy shit. Who knew this set was going to go crazy? So we 1v1 the Florges. That was what this was planned to do. And then he has to go into a Moongus. I have Psychic, but with the Light Screen up, he actually lives this hit, which is so tragic. But looking at this, with the damage on Latios, with the damage on Tusk, if I can just get a bit of damage on Garganackle, which is Terra Electric, and then the Chi-Yu is Terra Flying. If I can get a little bit of damage on the Garganackle, then at +1, with the Booster Energy, I can Swords Dance and then literally clean with Ice Punch plus CC. So I was feeling really good about the Valiant endgame here. So I'm just going to go for Psychic, get my damage off, get this in range of Ice Punch even through Regenerator. And he red cards me out into Valiant and sleeps me. So my Booster Energy is burned. My win con is gone just by pure fucking chance. And I have to go back into Darkrai, try and revenge with Psychic, but now my fucking win con is sleeping. Tragic. So I'm a little bit tilted from that. I just go for Sludge Bomb here, and he reveals Flame Charge. I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? Thankfully, I have a Terra Water Mew, so surely I'm fine, right? I can take the hit, go for Drain Punch, and be fine. Except for the fact that I completely forget that this thing is Terra Flying. I just completely miss it, and I look like a total chump Drain Punching a Flying type, and I die to Dark Pulse, and that's just it. That's the end of our tournament run, because Abomasnow is in Darkustap, but it's not in Darkustap like Blizzard or anything, and this thing's just going to clean up. So a really, really anticlimactic end to the season, but I was very proud of how I did, and I was very happy just exiting and focusing on DCL and saying, you know what, I had a really solid run. So we do lose to the Chi-Yu. Very poetic that the first game and the last game were lost because I just completely forgot about the Terra mechanic. I'm so excited to be playing Gen 8 for DCL, where I don't have to worry about silly little mechanics like that anymore. But on top of my games, which I will try and have like either post-coms of or maybe even live comms from guests, I'm going to try and like live com react to some other players' games as well. So you'll have shorter form videos of matches and people commentating them, and it'll be fun to watch. So you'll have long little videos like this, but then you'll also simultaneously have some DCL games, which would be really high-level draft content that I really urge you to check out. I really appreciate you all sticking through while I try this like new thing on my channel where I'm just kind of being chill and showing you games. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed my tournament run. 7-3, I'll take that, right? 7-3 is a really strong run, especially in a pool of players. And by the end of it, we ended up making like the top 7%. Like we ended up being in the top 42 out of like 550 applicants. Like what is that statistically? Someone tell me in the comments, but I'd say that's pretty good for my first Gen 9 tournament experience. So anyway, thanks for sticking it out. Appreciate you all, and I'll see you for some upcoming DCL content. That's what's on the channel next, so hope you're looking forward to it. See you all then.